send them to The Hague. And responsibility is inevitable. Nothing could justify today's deliberate shelling by a Russian warship of a Moldovan flagged chemical tanker with the Russian crew. Imagine. Or a Panamanian flag cargo ship near Odessa port in the Black Sea. It is a flagrant violation of international law of the sea. Is it a time to discuss historical reflections against the backdrop of the alarming situation in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, seized by the Russian armed groups? They detain the staff of the nuclear power plant, not allowing them to rotate as required by technical safety rules. Another matter of alarm that the control levels of gamma radiation, those rates in the exclusion zone, have already been exceeded because of the damage of the topsoil due to the movement of a large number of heavy military equipment, including tanks. And as a result, there is contamination by radioactive dust. Dear Security Council members, as of previous night, midnight, almost 140 persons were killed on the Ukrainian side and 316 persons wounded during, that was the first day of the Russian invasion. Many objects of civilian infrastructure were ruined. To stop the advance of the Russian tanks, a young gentleman, a hero, blew himself on a bridge. He killed himself to destroy the bridge, not to let the Russian tanks to go ahead. He killed, but the destruction takes place not only in cities. 80% of infrastructure of the small town of Shastya, located on the government-controlled part of Donbass, have been completely destroyed, according to the local administration. Occasionally, the name of the town is translated as happiness. That's actually the name of the town. Shastya, happiness. What a grotesque irony. It speaks volumes what kind of happiness the Russian Federation is bringing to Donbass, to Ukraine, to other nations. Sooner or later, if we continue to allow Russia to go ahead with its diabolical plan. And rest assured, Ambassador, there will be no hospitality to your troops on our territory. Ukraine has been executing its right for self-defense according to the Article 51. It's not the Russia that executes. Your perverse reading of the Charter is so sick that it's impossible to interpret. Calling occupational troops peacekeepers, claiming the right of self-defense, lunacy. The Russian troops are suffering heavy losses. Aircraft, helicopters, tanks, trucks, and most importantly, personnel. You can stop the vote in this chamber. But what may stop the war is unfortunately the bodies and thousands of bodies of Russian soldiers that will be delivered to their mothers in Russia, whether you like it or not, because we have to defend our territories, we have to defend ourselves on our territory. Thousands of Ukrainians have already joined the Ukrainian army or territorial defense forces. And the resolve and dedication of civilians joining the territorial defense forces is the best proof that we will not surrender, even if you succeed to temporarily occupy additional chunks of our territory. Ukraine has broken diplomatic relations with Russia, something that had to be done 8 years ago. We call on our partners to follow our example or to find other ways to severe relationships, diplomatic relationships with Russia. We call on international organizations to ban or suspend Russia's membership. The latter has happened today, in fact, as the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe, by overwhelming majority, I mean, it's almost like consensus, adopted the decision to suspend the Russian Federation from its rights of representation in the Committee of Ministers and in the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. In the first place, you shouldn't have been invited to the Council of Europe. You were invited to the Council of Europe, this temple of human rights, in the middle of the Chechen War. In the very middle of the Chechen War, even before the Khasavyurt agreements. For hypocritical political reasons, the Europeans then were of the opinion that it's better to invite you, and you were invited in the middle of the war, killing thousands and thousands of your own citizens in Chechnya. We count upon the proper reaction by the international community to medieval atrocities by Russia in Ukraine. For today, a number of countries have already imposed sanctions on Russia, and the burden must be heavy. And if you say that sanctions is nothing, that I'm sure that the bodies of killed soldiers of Russia is not nothing, even if you are completely diabolical. We are sincerely grateful to the UN for its prompt decision to support the humanitarian response in Ukraine, as well as we highly commend the UN efforts to encourage major humanitarian donors to make additional funding available. I thank the Secretary General for his statement to this effect. And I have a plea. Stop harassing the Secretary General. Stop attacking him. Show respect to the institution. Stop wiping your feet of the Secretary General, who is a very nice person and a dedicated supporter of the UN Charter. We remain open for negotiations, but don't put words in our mouths. Don't manipulate with our statements about negotiations. We are sick of your interpretations. Speak on your own behalf. Do not speak on our behalf. This was stated by the President of Ukraine, that we are open to negotiations. on a permanent basis, and we have been saying that all along. It is you who killed Normandy 4. It is you who killed the Minsk agreements. All that gibberish about who said what and when in Normandy 4 by no means can justify the offensive. By no means can justify thousands and thousands of your troops on our territory. Your today's call of your president to the Ukrainian army to remove the government of Ukraine, are you crazy? Show respect for the core principles enshrined in the UN Charter. Sovereign equality, non-use of force or threat of force against territorial integrity, and political independence. In my opening remarks, I said that parents of ambassadors here, all ambassadors but you, are proud of their children. And children of the ambassadors are proud of their parents. It's so painful to think what your family think about you when you lie every day. The Russian people deserve peace, democracy. The Russian people deserve liberty, and they will have it. If not tomorrow, because tomorrow is not possible, then probably in near future. Thank you.
The list of speakers is exhausted. Prior to concluding today's meeting, I wish to comment just on one thing and to calm members of the council. There was a lot to comment on the representative of Ukraine. I will leave the boorishness at his conscience, on his conscience. This is a matter of his conscience, that is the boorishness with which he has addressed the council. But I say one thing. This is a report yesterday. The Russian Defense Ministry, yesterday, 24 February, the units of the Russian Paratrooper Division took full control of area in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant area. Military services took by Ukraine. An agreement was reached about the joint provision of security for the sarcophagus and other units in the power plant. We do not want Ukraine to generate a dirty bomb. The representatives of the Defense Ministry noted that personnel of the stations continue to carry out service there, and they are monitoring the radioactive situation, their radioactive situation. And this is a report from Vienna. The level of radiation in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant is low. The threat to population does not exist. This was announced on Friday by the Director General of the IAEA. The list of speakers is closed. The meeting stands adjourned.